continuing the legacy. Am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Hey, hey, you guys can see me, right?
Yes, yes.
Cool. I would like everyone to turn on their cameras if possible, so at least that part doesn't feel like a lecture, you know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yes, I'm actually waiting for others to turn on their cameras. I hope it's not just the other two. I don't mind like cameras turned off, but it gives me the feels of lecture because we have attended so many lectures till now. All right, we have got 17 participants as of now. You guys may call your friends or anyone who was supposed to come and have not joined yet. I would also like people to, turn on their mics if possible, because this feels very awkward. I'm not even able to see your faces and not able to get your reactions. So, well, cool. So, well, it's 4:35 and we were supposed to start at 4:30. It's 5 minutes past. So we will start. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are healthy, first of all. Um, we are here because open source, actually. I did not have any sentence in mind right now, but I was actually looking at some open source contribution, and since Hacktoberfest was going on, and I have faced many difficulties and obstacles in the past to start my open source journey, and I was hoping that yeah, and I was hoping that I can help some people out too. Well, that's one of the main reasons, or the only reason, and the most important reason that we are here today. Uh, I'm particularly very happy today because my sessionals got over, and by that I mean all of my sessionals are over now. I'm in fourth year, so I won't be having any more sessionals. So yay! Any
Hmm.
fourth years in the group? I mean, in the chat right now. See, that's why. Like, turn on your mics. This is very awkward.
Exactly.
All right. Anyway, yeah. So, uh, let's start. Okay. And does anyone have any more questions? Like before we start? I don't think so. Cool. So I'm gonna share my screen. Hey Mansi. Hey Utsav. Hey Utsav.
Hey,
Mhm. All right. Well, can you guys see the first slide?
Yes, it's. I guess
yeah,
everyone.
Cool. Cool. So the title that we thought of for today's webinar is Good First Issue. Does anyone know what Good First Issue is? Like any faint idea as to what it may be? Have you heard it anywhere? You can reply in the chat, or you can just turn on your mic and speak out loud.
Because again, it's not a lecture.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, any ideas, guys? Anyone from the 25 people? Wow, none. Man, we really need to work on our interaction.
Exactly.
Anyway, I'll just go on. So a good first issue is actually an issue. We will look at what an issue is exactly in GitHub terminology. But for now, good first issue is actually a label that is assigned to an issue. So like say you have some problems, and then there are difficulty levels of problems. So you assign them difficulty levels. So you will give a problem a specific tag, such as difficulty hard, difficulty medium, likewise. So similarly, good first issue is a tag given to an issue. So today's our issue for today is open source contribution, how we can get started and what are the things that are required, why is it actually important, and other things. Well, there is actually a small Easter egg hidden in the whole slide. If you guys can find it, like it's pretty obvious, but if you guys can find it, then well, yay, I don't know, we'll do something and then later. So, idea about what is an open source? I see some fourth years here too. Yeah, Utsav.
Open source is what world runs on. Programming world runs on.
What? I'm sorry, you are not audible.
Yeah, so it is what world runs on, right? Anything that's openly available, you can go to the code.
Yes, exactly. So I remember one of my seminars where we were discussing open source, and the main idea that we get for this behind open source is that the source code is available. But apart from that, one of the major and important thing is this okay. Well, I did not see this. Anyway, one of the most important thing is this open source license. Like you can just keep your code public, but it does not makes it open source unless it has an open source license. So I just will just go through the points. What is open source is public accessibility. This was the main idea behind open source, that is anybody can see your code, modified code, and distribute the code as in when they see fit or as per their requirements. Open source license is a mode. There are multiple open source licenses available right now, such as GNU licenses, MIT licenses, and likewise you can just check it out licenses on your GitHub repository. What open source license does is it actually gives you, like it says that it actually works on public accessibility. It tells everyone that this project, this repository is actually an open source, that it is publicly accessible. Relies on peer review and community production. This is one of the main things, and developed by communities rather than a single entity. So what difference is that, like when you work in a company or somewhere, like a private firm or something, so whatever software that you will develop would belong to like, what I mean is that only a team will work upon the your product or your software or whatever it is. So what happened in open source is that it is publicly accessible, so everybody can see it, everybody can review it, and anybody and everybody can review it, and they can even give suggestions and ideas for improvements and even write code. That we all know, I guess, right? So yeah, what all that really means is freedom. Open source gives you freedom to distribute your code, like as opposed to, you have heard the term piracy, that we are not supposed to pirate books and movies and stuff, that we're not supposed to watch it by pirating it. So that what it means is that you're not supposed to distribute it without the permission, but open source actually gives you the permission to do this. Yeah, common misconception is between free software and open source software. So I was gonna actually ask you guys to tell me the difference between the free software and open source software, but seeing that the interactivity is to a bare minimum, I guess I'm just gonna answer the question in itself. So free software and open source software, you can look at the source code. Well, in free software also you can look at the source code, and you can do that in open source too. And open source has a license, so that's it. Like, what's the other difference? That's it. Like anything else that you can look at the source code. So if you have the source code, you can do all sort of things. You can use the product, you can modify product, and everything else. So what else? Yes. Well, we moved on to why, but would anyone like to try? Like, what else can we do this? What else can we do here? What is the difference between a free software and open source software? I see some 4th and 3 years in the chat too. So, I mean, come on, guys. You guys are embarrassing yourself. I'll just wait like for a minute or two. But in free software, we cannot change the source code and republish it. Nitant is asking. We can do this. That is what essentially free software means. I think you are confusing between free software and freeware. So there's another term called freeware. So what freeware is all the softwares that you can use for free, but you don't have the source code available for them. That is freeware. Nice try. Yeah. Cool. Anyone else? Come on, people. At least 4th and 3 year students. If I may have missed, then I'll just repeat that you guys can turn on your cameras and microphone. Yeah, that's. Oh, anything? Anything. Nothing? All right. No worries. So you can. Okay, so what is the difference between free software and open source software? The main difference is ethics. So the ethics are related to, or assigned to, or as ethics are considered with respect to a software, and that is in free software. In open source software, our main area of focus are the people in itself, not the software, the other way around. What this actually means is, free. Okay, so free software here does not mean free. I think that is why maybe Nathan also got confused. So free here actually just means freedom. And you get freedom in free software, you get freedom in open source software. The same thing. Like, the thing is that open source software is actually a derivative of free software, but it has less number of restrictions on itself and as compared to free software. That is why it is. You can also say that free software is actually the subset of open source, but whereas open source was derived from free software. Hey.
I don't know. Someone maybe started the presentation.
Okay, cool. No worries. Yes. Yep. Wait, you guys can see my tab, right? Hey,
Yep.
now I think now I can,
Yeah.
like relate to the professors a bit more. When they keep on asking that you guys can see my screen or am I audible or not. Uh, yeah, anyway, where was I? Like, yes, the ethics part. So, wow, I actually lost my train of track. Now I have like, a sudden newfound empathy for professors. Anyway, yeah, so I guess I'll just go on. If I remember the points, and I'll just convey to you. Anyway, yes, so why? Why is open source needed? What are the perks of the open source? Because let's face it, if you don't get anything from doing anything, you most probably are not gonna do it. And that is a fact of life that we all know. So improve package software that you generally use. Yes, meet people who are passionate about the same things, perhaps more than you. Yeah, I have actually found this very useful. Like, I mean, like I have experienced this myself. Uh, I have, contributed to like small repositories that were just growing, and I have contributed to a package. I have contributed to a package too. So, well, improve package software. So what we usually do is that we do not know, like, in open source, there's already a code base available and we have to work in it. And we don't have to we don't get to, or we don't actually have the time to go through the whole code base because that can be very big and that can be tiresome and time consuming in itself. So so what we generally do is, what I actually generally do is I take a package which I am using in my day-to-day life. For example, say I'm a member of machine learning team too, so I use pandas package quite a bit. So what I would do is I would go to the pandas repository. I would take a look at the issues and then start my working. Build your soft skills. Yep, that is one of the biggest perks because you get to interact with people. You have to interact with people. Um, yes, find mentors or teach others. Yes, we do not I actually did not realize how important finding a good mentor is unless it was quite late. But I had a pretty good mentor, though. So you can even find mentors through open source contribution, or maybe you can reach like at one point of time you can even teach others, improve your skills. Well, of course, you will improve your skills.
Hey, 1 second.
Yeah.
So maybe guy called Alos Crash is maybe presenting the screen and
Oh, you guys cannot see my screen?
no, he is maybe kind of teasing or something like that.
Well, who is a lost crash?
Actually, I don't know. So
I guess you guys should have like replied a bit earlier. No worries. Okay, for the for what feels like the 100th time, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Cool, of course. Nice. So, did you guys get the why thing? Like, why would you contribute to open source? What are the perks of open source and things?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the screen was actually visible in a tiled manner on my screen, so I didn't have a problem.
Yes,
But
mine too.
I guess
Okay, cool. Well, one of the most important things are we will study about Git, not study, we will take a look at Git and GitHub. So we know that all the open source projects, like not all the, but many open source projects are hosted on GitHub. And whenever you guys take a look at contributing to open source, you will see the links or whatever the article is. They will, they will prefer to use GitHub because GitHub is, I have found, to be beginner friendly too, and it is quite widely used than all the other DVS. But DVS is this distributed version control. Let's just look at Git first. So Git is a free and open source distributed version control system designed to handle everything from small to large projects with speed and efficiency. The textbook definition. But what is the most important thing is version control system. So, before Git, what I used to do in my first year was, keep on saving a program. And then if I if I have to make some changes, and I'll either save it in another file, or I would just comment the code out, and I would, create another function or method below it, so that, because I always had the fear that what if I need this, what if I need the thing that I'm removing in the future? So I would never ever remove it, apart from, of course, when my product was ready. That is my software or the program. There wasn't anything such as product in first year. Yeah, so version control system is pretty good. We'll take a look at how it works. Mainly, we will not go in depth for Git and GitHub. We'll just look at the basics and the things that are needed to start contributing to open source. Yeah, and what is GitHub is GitHub is a service that hosts repos using Git. So say you have a repository and which is using Git version control system, and what GitHub does is it actually hosts your repositories. It's as simple as that. So when you're using Git, your repository is still in your local machine itself, but on GitHub you host a repository, so it is in cloud, so you can access it anytime from anywhere, and all the other benefits of cloud. Yeah, basic repository structure. All right, this is quite important. So yeah, we have 4 files. Okay, the second one is not actually a file. So we have, well, first let's just go through with MD files. What MD stands for is a markdown file, and there are usually 2 kind of markdown files in repositories, that is readme and contributing.md. Excuse me. Yes, so you will find readme everywhere, almost everywhere. If you take a look at any repository that you want to contribute to, you will definitely find a readme. And contribute. It is advised that we should use contributing.md, but it is contributing.md is generally found in the big repositories, or the repositories of organizations, such as some repositories from Python organization, or likewise like for. Yeah, so what readme consists of is description of your project, and yes, and how to all and the steps to use the repository. For example, it can be as simple as, say you have got a Python file in your project. In the project related file, there's only one Python file. So in the steps, it can be as simple as Python run some file name .py. That is as simple as that. Or it can be as complex as, say you are working on a package. So let's just take any package, say Python package, Beautiful Soup. Yes, so Beautiful Soup is a package that lets you scrap website that is available in Python. So what you would normally do is you would go to your terminal and you would type in pip install Beautiful Soup. You would get the package, and you will just you will write it in your file, import Beautiful Soup, and you will just start using it. But when you are actually working on your package, so whenever you make any minor changes, you need to see if those changes are reflected or not. So the build method for the packages is different. It's a bit different than just pip install. So there are those kind of steps available in Readme, and then there are then there are many other things too that just varies according to user and repositories or the organization in itself. Such as you can have a collaborator list. that gives you the idea of how many collaborators have yet contributed to this repositories, how many forks that have been done, and many all sort of things. And what contributing.md is, okay, so when you are actually contributing to a repository, uh, you should read readme.md first of all, and then the next file you should read is contributing.md. What it gives you is the idea that it gives you the idea of how to contribute to a repository. And there are like I said, everyone follows a kind of a bit different format in their contributing. So you have to like take a look at that. And for example, say there's like uh, whenever you are pushing code, whenever you are making changes and pushing code, so if you are not getting what pushing the code means, we will get to it later. Anyway, so let's just assume that whenever you are making changes and whenever you have to like add it or merge it with the main file, you should like make sure that uh, that your pull request or whatever changes you have made does not break the repository in itself. That can like if you have some syntax error which later does not compile or anything as such, so you should make sure that you do not sign a pull request. You do not ask to get the changes merged. So you can mention in contributing.md that there are this test available, and after you have made all the changes, you are supposed to run all this test first. And that's it. And sometimes there is also like there's also a file for contributions, and which has a list of the contributors, and which is this is sometimes contributing.md. I have seen people use contributing.md and sometimes something else too. But so for example, like you are collaborating to some project, so and your changes have been merged, so the name should be in the collaborator and things. So and sometimes they use another file to keep a track of it. And yeah, that's it. Project related files, of course. And yes, .git ignore. What .git ignore is, say that I think everybody is familiar with VS Code, right? Has everyone used VS Code?
Yep. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Any other ideas that you guys have been using or anything?
Like multiple
Visual
IDs,
Studio,
Atom,
Ending.
VS Code, Sublime. I mean, text editor. Sorry.
Yeah. Some Sublime actually has different plugins and stuff, so you can. Yeah.
The PyCharm, Spider, and some
Oh
other
yeah,
thing.
those are pretty cool. So you mean like IntelliJ IDEs, right?
Yeah.
All right. I think everyone is familiar with those IDEs, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So, what my idea behind asking you about IDEs was that, like all the, for example, say when you are installing a IntelliJ IDE for the very first time, you get asked a bunch of things, like which sorry, not examples, which key bindings to use, like you want to keep it default, which themes to use, and other sort of things that you configure. So, it keeps the track of all these changes in a folder, in its specific folder. I don't remember the name of the folder for IntelliJ IDE, but for Visual Studio Code, it is .vs Code. Now, dot is derived from actually Linux file systems. Dot actually indicates that it is hidden, so you cannot say it unless you do, that -a that you guys might have studied in your first semester. -a is for hidden file. But the thing is that everyone uses, their own configurations for their own IDE on their own local machines. So, for example, if I have the repository on GitHub, so and say Slok is, Slok wants to use my repository, but but I have also posted my VS Code configuration files, but he doesn't care about my configurations. He wants to use his configuration. So what I would do is I would keep the whole folder .vs code in my .gitignore file. So what .gitignore does is it does not pushes the code to my repository. As simple as that. And once the .gitignore file has .vs code and all the other folders for other IDs and stuff, it's just very simple. Like even Shlok does not have to make any changes after that. Or by Shlok, I mean none of you or none of the contributors. Yes, that's it. We usually have we have an option for .gitignore when creating a repository on GitHub. You might have observed that if you want to like initialize a gitignore or not, we usually have. You will see a list of languages actually. So like there is Python, Go, and C, and etc. and etc. So you will you'll wonder that what is the use of the languages here. So, for example, that Python. Whenever there's a repository which has Python files, the source code is in Python, and just a minute. Yeah, so the source code is in Python, and whenever I compile my files, it would be it uses PyCache, something like PyCache. So it not compiles actually. Python uses it's an interpreted language. So what it does is it uses a PyCache. Let's just not go way too deep into that. But PyCache does it. It gives you the results faster the next time. But I don't want PyCache in my files. For example, I can take easier example, that is C files. So it is a compiled language, and whenever I have to run C code, what I would do is I would just do a compiler that is GCC space some file name .c. So GCC space C file, and what that would give me is actually an .out file. That is an executable code, but I don't want executable code because I want an executable code to run, but there's no need for me to push the executable code to the GitHub repository, because any other collaborator who wants to use my code will just do GCC space file and they can just get the executable code. Or they are actually using my repository to contribute to it, so they will make changes, so they will not be requiring my executable. So you can just mention that star.out, star is regular expression, so star stands for anything. So anything .out file will be in my gitignore. So I will not be pushing my out files to GitHub. As simple as that. I hope you guys are clear. If you guys have any doubt, then you can just type in the chat window. Shall I wait for you guys to type? I don't know what is the norm here. I'm pretty much new to this too. I'll just wait for 2 minutes. If you guys don't have any doubt, then just type in no. You guys can type no at least. I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, everyone. I mean, cool. No doubt. No doubt. No doubt. And nothing like chill water in this heat. All right, I guess we'll move on ahead. Yes, so now we'll be talking about first contribution. So your first contributions may seem a bit of a complex task, but trust me, it is not. We will walk through these simple steps we have created. I think there are 6 simple steps, and you guys can follow it each and every time that you are supposed to you want to make a contribution. First is forking the repository. You guys might have seen the fork button, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that is you for the repositories. And what forking actually means is, say, hey, you guys can see my mouse pointer.
Yes, we
All
can.
right, cool. So yeah, so well here the example is iOS client OS. So iOS is an organization or a user, whatever, and our repository is client iOS. That is the name of the repository. And now we want to contribute to this repository, this purple thingy. And so what we will do is we will actually fork this repository. So you can just see that the client iOS is the same, but the iOS is changed to me. It is actually your GitHub username. So yeah, so what forking actually means it is, wow, I'm getting confused. Is it between is and it? So yeah, what forking is that you are creating a clone or you are creating a copy of of a repository in your repositories list. That's it. But the idea. And but what we can then what we generally do is we clone the repositories. That is the simple command git clone. And you guys don't have to like remember this thing. It is available, you know, on the GitHub page itself. So yeah, in clone 2 you are creating a clone of the repository, but which repository will be this is this one, like the origin, like me slash client iOS. You can create a clone of this too, but yeah, okay, so the difference between fork and clone is that you know, if you guys like clone this repository, then what you will be doing is that you will be pushing directly to this iOS client iOS. Now we don't want that. We don't. Why do we not want that? Is because we need a copy of the existing repository to work with, to tinker with, to experiment with and stuff. That is why we fork the repository to our like, you know, to our repository list. And that is actually what forking means. So like, yeah, so forking stays in the cloud. Well, I did not realize that they had a cloud, right? But yeah, that is helpful. Forking stays only in cloud, and then you clone. This is local. So when you do clone, that is git clone is the command. You clone the repository from your repository list that is hosted on cloud, and it will be available to your local repository, or I mean to your local machine. And then whatever you do is you make changes to local repository and then you push to origin. That's it. Oh, we'll just like see ahead. I hope it is clear because I have like observed many people getting confused between fork and clone, and well, it is not their fault. The names are actually pretty confusing. Cool. I haven't. Okay, just drop in a message whenever you feel like in the chat window. Yeah, make changes. You know, like you have your repository copy on your local machine. You can do whatever you want with it. Make changes, add a feature, remove a bug, add a simple line, anything. What you will do is you will save the repository then, and then you will commit it. Hey, I hope you guys have seen this. This is called a commit graph, and I go crazy over commit graphs. I go because this green thing, like, you know, it is it is like a developer's dream to, actually an open source contributor's dream to have such a good commit graph,
Good
that
commit graph.
green one. Yeah. Yeah, so what you do is you stage the changes. That is, you do git add, you stage the changes, and then you just simply commit it. So what committing means is that, you know how commit sounds actually. The literature meaning of commit is the same that is being used in the Git too. That you are committing that whatever changes I have done are final changes. Actually, you can also abort commit, but let's just not talk about it right now. That's not important. So yeah, you have committed your changes, and then you push the changes. So the same thing, you have your local repository, that is, you know, the repository on your local machine, and then you push it. So when you push it, the changes will be pushed to the repository, remote repository, that is That is the one which has me underscore me slash your repository. Let me just go back. Yeah, this one. So say you are on local, you have made changes in the local repository, and then you commit those changes, and then whenever you commit the changes, those changes remain there. The changes are still in local. You have to like post the changes, and the command is called push. So you do git push, and it takes care of everything else. So you do git push, and your changes will be pushed to your cloud repository. But just take care that it is under your repository list. Yeah, not here. Uh, yep, that's it. And yeah, actually, I didn't get like a better picture representation of push, like with through which I can convey a better idea. But if you guys can see here that this is a master repository, say this is like a user one and user two. So two users have clone for the master repository in their own machines, and they guys can push it to the repository, to the remote repository that is on the cloud. Remote means cloud, local means on your machine. Good. So you have pushed the code, and when you have already pushed the code, you will go on GitHub, and you will you will get a message saying that your branch is behind, your branches are hid, this much number of commits are hid than the remote repository. So you will create a pull request. Pull request goes as easy as just clicking on the button that says create a pull request. You can give a description or whatever, but yeah, that's it. So yeah, actually this image is quite a good representation. So you are here, and this is the remote repositories, that is iOS repository, and this is your version of the repository, and you have made changes. So when you are creating a pull request, you are sending the changes to this repository actually, but it would get updated. So like that is a new thing. And this is pretty interesting because like pretty simple too, because pull request actually means that back in the time when Linus Torvalds, the creator of Git, he introduced it. The pull request meant that you were actually mailing those changes to Linus, and then you are asking Linus to pull my changes. So say I'm another user, and so that is Linus Torvalds, and I'm mailing him the changes. So and I'm telling Linus to please pull my changes to the master repository, and that is how pull request like comes into picture. The name of the pull request comes into picture. Yeah, so generalized steps to follow. Yep, generalized steps to follow to contribute to first time. That is, actually do fork. Okay. Yeah, for the first time, you actually do fork, and then you go on to make changes. Then you commit, as we talked about, commit the changes to your local machine. Then you push it, so they are in the remote repository, but under your repository list. And then you create a PR, that is pull request. So they are in the main repository where you have forked it. Now the thing is that when you are when you are working on the project for the first time, you're supposed to fork the repository, but then all the other times you're supposed to pull the changes. That is because the after like say that you have created a PR, that PR has got merged. So and then you haven't contributed or you haven't done anything to that repository for some time, but other people might have. So now that repository, I'm talking about the iOS repository. So that repository is like a few commits ahead. So what pull does is the simple command for pull is git pull. So what pull does is it just it gets you the updated version in your forked version. That is under iOS/repository. You pull it from there, and you will get all the updated version in me underscore, or that is your GitHub username slash your repository. That's simple. I really found this GIF while searching tomorrow, and I really liked it. I hope you guys like it too. Okay. Uh, yeah. So we have actually like created or dev resources where where you guys can create a PR, do changes, and do all the things that we talked about here and everything. The repository is goes by the name dev resources, and it is under developer students club. So you can just go over github.com and you can search for developer students club, and under that we have dev resources. We'll share you we'll share the link with you guys later. So
Already shared it, sir.
oh, oh man, are they your fastest ever? Anyway, yeah, I'll talk about communication. So issues related discussion and anything related to the repo. So communication is actually pretty important in open source because you you are contributing to some unknown person's repository who may be at the other end of the world, like the opposite side from you. So there are actually you might have like seen chats in issue sections, and you might have seen that if you want to talk about repository, then we also have like this other chat mediums or like communication mediums. So yeah, I really wanted to clear out this thing, that is issue related discussion. So say if you're not sure about an issue, that whether say if you've got an idea about enhancement, so what you can do is you can you are not sure about the enhancement idea because, well, let's admit, because it is another person's repository. So what you do is you look for any other communication medium that those guys are using, and it is usually like one of these four. IRC is like internet relay chat client, and it is usually like Slack, Gitter, or Discord. I have used like I've used to Gitter, and like I have observed Gitter being used pretty much. So you can just go over any of this communication channel, and you can type in a message, or yeah, you can just type in your problem or your enhancement thing, that I want to work over this thing. Like, is it feasible or not? And then you guys and everybody can discuss about if this is feasible, if we guys should do it, and other things as such. Okay, and say that you have got an enhancement idea ready, and you have talked about it, and you're pretty sure that you are gonna do it, and like not just you, because it is an open source. You have to have uh, you know um, an approval sort of thing from the repository maintainers. So see, you have got an approval, so you will go over like the repository, you will click on issues, and then you will create a new issue. So what I understood for the issue is like, like issue are not the issues that we talk about in our day-to-day life. Like issues is generally this is a task that is supposed to be worked upon. So you go to issue section, you create a new issue, you give a heading, you give a description, and everything. And say you are like creating an enhancement or a new feature, but you are not stuck somewhere. Say for example, say some API that you are using returns something else, but you want something else in place of that. So what you would do is you would go to the comment section of that issue, and you will comment that I'm facing this issue right now. So like get the idea, like what goes behind issues, and like when you should use issues as a communication medium, and when you should actually use this kind of services. I hope it is clear. Like I'm not looking at the chat window. Uh, Hey, Utsav, if that GIF won't get me excited about Git, I don't know what. True. All right. Well, you guys will like learn more about issues and like communication medium when you will actually contribute, and that is why we have this repositories, and we are hoping that we will start getting a few contributions, and we have kept in mind that you guys are a beginner to open source contribution. Even I am a beginner too still, but this you guys don't even have to make changes to the code base. You just have to contribute to like Readme and contributing files and everything else that will be explained by Hardik. Anyway, yes, obvious code setup for productive environment. I'll leave this thing to Hardik to continue.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. Great session, guy.
Why, thank you, Hardik. It's this weird compliment, getting complimented by you because
No, we
you
have
were
to.
my teammate.
Yeah, we have to. So,
Yeah. I'll just stop presenting. All right.
oh, sure, sure. Okay, so again, welcome everyone. I think the Git base is covered by Utsav, which was quite enough for you to, I think, kickstart into the open source contributions.
Yeah, Hardik, sorry for the interruption. Guys, if you have any doubt for the,
Absolutely.
yeah, or in any of the 6 steps or all of the 6 steps, then you guys can, type in the chat window, or you guys can turn on your mic. Sorry, I keep getting confused between the two. But yeah, I think let's just wait for like 2 minutes and see if anyone has any doubt.
Exactly. Okay. Meanwhile, I'll share my screen.
Yep.
Is it visible? Yes. Right.
Yes. But it doesn't look like we are getting any doubts. Yep. Well, Hardik, let's continue then.
Okay. So the next thing is the VS Code setup for productive environment. It is important in any aspect, not just open source, but I felt that VS Code has enough support for open source contributions and setup of environments too. So first is the thing I doesn't know the extension of every file whenever I contribute to some new repo or some new files. So this extension name material icon thing, which shows you every extension with a beautiful picture of a particular extension, right? If it is Azure file, it is email, it is Laravel file. I never heard too much of this extensions, but you should install this plugin to make little productive and say focus towards what you are doing and what you are doing to particular file, what that file indicates. Say for instance, I doesn't know the YAML file I think maybe 1 year ago, and then I just start installing this plugin or extension, and then I came to know that YAML. Then through the picture we actually try to see or Google that what is actually this file is. So yes, material icon theme. Second is Markdown Preview Enhanced. Actually, I love Markdown files because they are very lightweight and easy to document any important PDF or something like that. Because latex is also good, but its learning curve is a little big, and there is many kind of setup you have to do. In Markdown, you doesn't need to worry about any kind of installation or setup. You just use the tags and it works, because every browser supports Markdown mostly. So this is the preview where you write in the VS Code. Say I was writing README and contributing file for this dev resource repository, and I can see the output, that how it looks in the GitHub, which is live. So you do not need to reload every time. It's quite a hot reload. That's what we call in Flutter. Yes. And this is Markdown PDF. This extension I came to know about recently when we have to submit assignments for our say academics, and I document every assignment in Markdown, but faculty is taking it as a PDF or say some kind of document. So I found out that we can convert Markdown to PDF easily to just Control Shift P, and we can fire the command PDF. Here it is not any Markdown file, so it will not show. Anyways, a third one is Git Lens, Git Supercharge. I think every open source enthusiastic know about this extension in the VS Code, because it shows everything that which branch has been changed, how many commits, in which branch you are, your history, your commits, your pull request, your editing, everything. I think I cannot list down everything, but that's how powerful this extension is. So that's it about the productive environment.
Can I say something about Git Lens?
Yeah, sure. You must know
So
more
I
about. I
love
think
that extension, so usually when we are working and something fails in production, I just go to the code, and GitLens has this, like Git has this feature called Git blame, if you guys have heard of it.
yes,
So
yes.
you can know which line was committed by which person. So with GitLens, it will show you Git blame inside the file itself. So if you just open
Like
any
this.
file,
Yes.
yeah, you see. So I could
And
just
you can
go
over.
and yeah, I can just tell that I can just say that this person caused the failure, and I can just blame it onto them. You
Yes,
are
we
now
can blame.
supposed to solve it.
True, true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So guys, please install this extension. I repeat again, Markdown to PDF, then Markdown Preview Enhanced, Git Lens, and Material Icon Theme. I believe there were more than that, but this four is enough for you to focus on open source environment through VS Code. Okay, so let's move to next slide. Okay, so communication done. Okay, that is quite interesting.
Hardik, sorry to
Yes,
interrupt, but I think you have only shared your VS Code window.
yeah. Let me switch it. Okay, now all good. So,
Yep.
okay, so why? I think as Utsav our senior Utsav Arya said that everything is open source and world is running, means it is development. The world is running through the open source. That's true words and exactly pointed out by him, because every organization who wants to increase their reach or they enhance good quality contributors in their repo, they started the various programs and means how they are contributing it's to this open source environment. That is a big question, and here is the answer that say we talk about Fang, like say for example, the Google has its own repo on the GitHub called Google OSS, in which they have 1.2k repositories. Twitter OSS, in which they say create the tweet emoji, which emoji we use in the original Twitter engine. Then it's one JS library called label.js, from which we use the labels of Twitter, say for topics, like various topics are there, say Gujarat, politics, open source. That is also an open source project by Twitter. Then Facebook also encouraging for open source. Apple has its own program named Apple Open Source, and Netflix also has their own library on means their own repository on the GitHub. So yes, this means tech giants also supporting the open source community, and everyone knows Linus Torvalds, that he has started the project called Linux, in which I am sharing my screen, in which I am sharing my screen. So yes, open source makes everyone very engaging together, and it also shows you that from a different part of globe, uh, how can we communicate with each other, what ethics is, and how it can play a role in one's life. Yes. And the next is very important part. I think I must know that some of you only can come for this part. Say, what are the programs that adds value to my open source contribution? So let me share my another screen in which I opened all of this program, and one by one I show how this program plays role in the open source and how it can add values. I think one shortcoming of open source was that there is only one program called Google Summer of Code, which add some economy to your contribution by paying some amount as your country's PPP, power to purchase. But now in just 2 or 3 years, it has been grown so insanely, I would put in that words, that every organizations has started the various program to engage the open source community. So let me represent this screen. How many of you know about Google Summer of Code? Just write in the chat. Yes, it's me. I do. Just two men. Okay, Harshil also. Harshil. Kaushal bhai. Let's see. Okay. So the program announced just 2 days earlier, the Google Summer of Code 2020, and this time they have changed the rules of the game. Because they have cut it all the things to half. Initially it was a 3 months period, which was 12 weeks. Now they have reduced to 10 weeks of period of coding. They cut it stipend to $3,000 to $1,500, and everything is cut it down. Basically, they have supplied more amount to the developers, and they have said like that organization participating in the Google Summer of Code are also increasing this year. So supply is more this time. So chance of getting selected in Google Summer of Code 2020 is maximum than previous years. I would say that it's sure, because supply has been incremented. Of course, people number of amount people proposals and registrations will be increased, but it is the same case as the previous year, that everyone is applying for the GSOC. So they recently announced this program. So those who don't know, basically Google Summer of Code is a program by the Google. What they do is they call the great open source organization, those organization who wants to do some significant changes on their project by the young and emerging developer. So basically this is a platform which combines the organization who needs the better developers and the developers who actually wants to contribute to the open source by adding some value, by earning something. So you can yes, Shlok, are you saying something?
No, nothing. I'm just completing this.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a great platform. So organization doesn't have to pay to contributor directly. That's all thing done by Google. So Google pay you, and you have to just contribute to organization. Some of standards organization have to follow also, and some of standards contributor has to follow. So there is a not a long process, but an early process. It's always good to start contributing early, because this is the best time to start working on your GSOC 2020, because organization applications open at January 13, which is not applicable to us because we are not maintaining any good repositories or say some big large scale project to work on. Then they also send proposal to the Google. Then they approve. Then organization list announced. There were last time there were 215 organization in the GSOC. Then student application period, which is a very crucial stage. Actually, this is just sake of name that this is the say student application period from March 29 to April 30, but actual application period I would say start from earliest, that is December, November, or this time, because as Utsav mentioned, there are various channel of Gitter and Discord, Slack, that different organization communicate through the contributor. If you keep in touch with them since this time, then it they know you very well, they know how you write the codes, and that makes a different impression, and chances of you getting selected increase a lot, because you work with them approx 3 or say 2 months from December to March. And when you application period is the proposal in which you wants to you basically say that I want to contribute to this problem of your project, and this was my plan. You have to specify the each deadline, that first you design this function, you write the unit test, after 1 week evaluation you will work on the second function, after a second you logs everything, you send to their database. So there are many things you need to learn. This is just beginning. So whoever doesn't done the open source contribution yet, do on our dev resource to contribute to the organization. And getting early is always good in this kind of highly competitive say programs, because GSOC is not only in India, it is entirely in the globe, and more amount of Indian students participate in GSOC due to say money. But this time they have reducted the to $1500. So only quality contributors who actually wants to contribute to the organizations and get some good experience as a software developer without getting into corporates, they should contribute to that. And then student project announced May 17 is the day when project announced it, and you get the mail from GSOC that you selected for this organization or not. Yes, and you can organize send proposal to 2 or 3 organization also. It's not that you pick only one, but I suggest that stick to only one, work for 3 months to their project only, because when it comes to 2, 3 and multitasking thing, in the beginner level of open source contribution, you cannot cope up with that. So it's better to stick with one organization with full focus. The chances of selecting gets high. And then community bonding, they actually sign some legal documents that I will be available for 3 months. Internet is good, and yes, it is entirely on the remote before the COVID-19 era also, and after COVID-19 era also. Then in every week or every month, they have evolutions of every deadlines, then final evolution. And payment systems are like that, that after there is 3 months, and after every month they do your payments, because they don't pay in just one go. They like what I said in Gujarati, એ લોકો પરચુરણમાં pay કરે. Exactly. Okay, then result announced, and after GSOC also you can work with that organization. Some of students I know, they have contributed continuously 3 years for same organization. Yeah, So that's it about it. I will means Kaushal, Utsav or me happily guide you for this GSOC. It's very important to do such stuff in college life.
Definitely. And I have an example. So one of my friends, who's in another university, who was, um, uh, she contributed to
MongoDB, yes.
MariaDB.
Sorry,
So MariaDB is a fork of MySQL. Before it was bought by Oracle. So Oracle made it like proprietary, but MariaDB is still an open source fork, right? And she's currently she contributed she took part in GSOC for their in the third year, right? She worked there for 3 months, worked on a project, and after that, after graduation, she got a job there, right? So she works remotely for MariaDB right now. So yeah, GSOC opens the doors to lots of opportunities. So I would say like keep your eyes peeled out for this and work as much as you can.
Right. Okay, so second program, which is Google Season of Docs, which is those who don't like to code too much and they want to write some good technical documents and to raise the awareness of open source. And same benefit of GSOC is applied to Google Season of Docs also. After just finishing GSOC, there is 3-month period in which Google Season of Docs come, and in which you have to just write technical documentation, you have to communicate with mentors, you have to write the sum of unit tests if required, not necessary for all of the organization. But this is also a good thing to contribute to open source through your technical writing. And it is also not highly competitive as the GSOC because less number of technical writers comes there. This program is not announced yet. Will announce soon because it is still ongoing. 2020 period. So yes, this is also a very good program to start with the open source. Then these two are the major program from the Google, and now we move with MLH, which is Major League Hacking. It initially started by Swift, guy named Swift, and it is now widely known because they organizes the hackathons, the internships, fellowships, open source fellowships, and too many things. I think they have too many programs, and it's kind of iterative programs comes after every 3 months. So there is seasons like fall, winter, and summer. And they included this new program called externship, which is to work for government. Basically, it is started in the United States, so you have to work for US government, the websites and some privacy stuff. So which is also a real world software engineering problem they have written like that. They have 3 tracks for the fellowships: Explorer, in which you are totally beginner for the technologies, you have to learn technologies and contribute as well. And open source track is only for the enthusiastic for open source, right? Which requires some contribution earlier, say some of experience that you have you have contributed at least 4 or 5 PR. Then only you can select in the open source track, because as name suggests, you have little bit experience, but they also provide experience. And I don't know much about this externship, but as I said, this is also a good opportunity to work on it. This is the site, fellowship.mlh.program. They also provide need-based stipend, started from this year only. And this program is really good to work on. Basically, they have introduced a new concept called pods. They engage the developers, they announce the program, and when students selected, they create a group called pods. They called it first pod, second pod, and in one pod there is 4 or 5 developers working together on same project. And this entire fellowship is sponsored by GitHub, Facebook, Dev.to, and that's all. And next program is the Linux Kernel Foundation program, in which you get mentorship from a Linux kernel. Basically, this is open source program, but this is also applicable to operating system enthusiastic people, because if you don't much into the OS and that stuff, we all are not as Utsav Parmar. We do know that, because he has changed the 21 or 23 distros in his machine, and his machine is not working properly. Anyways, so this is also a good program to work on it. Basically for kernel and operating system enthusiastic, I would say. Yes, you can visit site and discuss with me or Utsav if you don't want to learn more about this program. This is the Redox summer of code. Redox is basically operating system, entirely open source organization, and their journey is that Redox OS is running its own summer of code this year. Once they are not accepted in the GSOC 2020, they start their own summer of code. So that is also a great thing to do. And they didn't rely on some other, they built on their own, and they also provide the need-based stipend. Basically, this is also for operating system and kernel enthusiastic, because you have to work on the RSOC, which is Redox operating system, in which you have to do a lot of things related to threads and the kernel stuff. Yes. Next is Alibaba Summer of Code. Same as Google Summer of Code, there is a listed open source project like A-Link, Chaos. You have to just pick one. You have to see what's they have written. Yes, what are the enhancements they want to do in this particular period of time, and you have to just communicate with them. And this is, they also gives stipend and adds value to your contribution. And recently Hacktoberfest also gone, since it is there now, just 2 days left. But this time Hacktoberfest has discovered many spam PRs. So in between program they have introduced one label that if a maintainer gives the Hacktober accepted label, then and then only it will be valid. But what if I created a repo and I participate in October, and my old friends just do some spam PR and get the completed 4 out of 4 PR. So there is still a chance of errors in this stuff. But people should say respect the environment. Just for sake of one T-shirt, I have one GIF. I can't say where it is, but in which they write that I would do anything for T-shirt. Anyways,
I just want to say, did anyone get? Did anyone complete the 4 PRs required for Hacktoberfest?
I have.
quality PRs.
No.
Quality PRs.
I have.
You completed it, sir? I didn't know that.
I have. Yes.
Man, I was gonna brag. But okay,
Send
that's
it.
good. That's good.
Hardik has also completed. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I like this.
Yeah.
This is
Like you get option to choose between like a T-shirt and tree.
Tree.
So yeah.
That is awesome, guys.
Yeah, I made a couple of PRs, but only one is going to count.
Yeah.
No problem. No problem.
So that's it.
It's good that you have tried and applied.
Yep. With time.
So guys, no worries if you don't participate in the Google Summer of Code in the Hacktoberfest. The new 24 PRs, same as Hacktober, they came at every year in the Christmas, means in the December, and same format as the Hacktoberfest. You can apply in it, and yes, during the Christmas holidays. You can contribute the open source organization. Yes. So that's it about the important program. There is much programs out there, but they are still emerging, and so that I haven't decided to go with all of the programs. I just highlighted the important ones. And yes, this is not our first open source contribution regarding workshop or seminar. Actually, I want to show you something. Yes, here. This is our page of DDU students YouTube, and in which here is Kaushal also. He has conducted the origin to upstream event in which they live showed the contribution to maybe Python, or I don't remember which organization was
It was MyPy. MyPy is a static type checker for Python type
yes.
annotations.
In the 2 hour of stream, he literally explained everything, starting from how to find the issues to merging the PR. So everyone should check out this video too. It is a 2 hour long, but you can watch its important part in which he mentioned all of the process. And if you have time, then please show an entire stream, because it is really helpful and fruitful to the beginner that how to contribute to say important or say big organizations such as MyPy. So thank you, Kaushal, for doing that.
You're welcome. It was fun for me. It was very much fun for me.
Yeah. So guys, that's it for this programs that adds a value to your open source contribution. So please ask questions if you have any of them about this programs and how it works, and what should I do to start. Actually, what you have to do for start is contributed to at least one organization, which is Developer Student Club. I just recently, we have created this repo called Dev Source, from which you get to learn about how to communicate through issues, how issues templates works, and ethics, and all of the things that need to learn for the open source contribution. Yes, and let's move to the next slide. Okay. My screen is visible, right? Yes. So, very important part. Mistake we made when we starting for open source contribution. So start with it. What was the major mistake you have done that you still regret that you that not be done for some beginner who is aiming for open source?
I actually don't, regret any of the mistakes, because
Okay.
I have a profound sense of. I think I have learned from my mistakes, and yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but one of the very first mistake was that I was at the idea that I have to know the entire code base. So like I would just go on selecting a repository, and then I would spend like days figuring out what goes where and how things work and everything. But what I later have come to realize that you don't have to look at the entire code base. You just go on the issue, and you just see the sections of the code that are related to the issue that you are solving right now. And that is one of the major thing that I've come to realize. And I also, like we have like 23 participants right now, and then we have some of our seniors and like our tier mates too, who have actually contributed to open source projects. So like I would like them if they could also share some light on this topic or the mistakes that you guys have made when you guys are starting out. Wait, what? Now I have to point you guys out too.
Yes, you have to
So,
do that.
uh, all right, let's. I can see Kaushal's icon, so let's start with him.
Please turn on camera.
I'm sorry, what are we talking about? I got carried away for a second.
Wow. Just look at the slides. So we are discussing we are discussing the mistakes that we made when we were starting out for open source.
Yeah, I guess the biggest mistakes were not knowing how to set up the project and not reaching out to people to ask them, how do I set it up? So usually when you clone a repository, unless it's something like documentation, you have to run the program somehow, right? So not knowing how to completely run the program and trying things out by myself. But when I could just ask somebody and they could just, reach out to me and they could tell me that you could just do it this way because they have already done it, right? So yeah, that's certainly a mistake that I've made many times. Recently, a lot of projects have started adding the contributing.md file. So that's also pretty good. So using that, you can set up things automatically, but very large projects do this usually. The small ones don't. So yeah.
Yes, right. And one thing I want to just tell that every new or beginner, what he does that he directly jump to entire code base. He wants to learn each line of code base, each file of code base. That is very wrong approach to do so, because when we learning something, it should be step by step, not in one go. So once you started to learn everything, each line of code, then you get to realize that
Did we lose him?
Yeah, I think I did too.
Okay. So just continuing his thought of line, the fact that we should how to explore a code base, right? It's a very important skill, and you can only get enough of it by uh, writing more code, executing more code, and editing more code. A very good example can be seen in the origin to upstream video that's on the DSCDU channel. So yeah, I guess you guys can refer it out. It's very methodical. I've explained how I went into a code base because I didn't really explore the MyPy code before that video. So I was completely new to that code base, and in that video I have took a deep dive into a completely new code base. So that's a good
yes,
reference.
yes,
Yeah, Hardik.
and yes.
Yeah, continue. Yeah, I was just gonna say.
So those who are beginner and want to learn anything regardless of only open source, but want to learn some new stuff regarding machine learning or something, then which community you will spend more time on, or should they only work on that, Twitter or LinkedIn? I will remove Reddit because most of audience doesn't use.
Yeah, I
So
used Reddit.
you're not audience. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
So
Not
that's
audience either.
so guys, write on the chat section that which according to you is the better community, Twitter or LinkedIn. Just write it down.
For
Or
developers.
yes, I'm seeing some replies. Manan is saying Twitter. Utsa is saying Twitter. Twitter or LinkedIn. Fast, guys. Okay, Utsav Arya, right?
Yeah, one Utsav was enough.
Okay. The cesspool of the internet.
So,
Twitter on top, Kirtan. But I haven't seen you on Twitter, Kirtan. You're not liking anything. Just kidding, man. Reddit, the front page, yes. So most of us answer Twitter, and I also believe that Twitter is good community to start on it because it has many good things. Good say Twitter accounts for the good first issue, 9 to 5 Linux, many things. You can just what can we say? Follow the particular topics. Say I am following the open source, Gujarat, and many more. So that you don't have to follow the many accounts. Just if it is tagged by open source or hashtag open source, something like that, then it will show in your feed and you get to know about the things. And why not LinkedIn? You can speak.
LinkedIn has turned into Facebook recently. Does anyone else feel this? Or is my feed like that?
Yes, please speak out, guys. Now
I feel that the UI of LinkedIn is starting to become more like Facebook. Like
People are
the
starting to
previous
use it
one.
like Facebook.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe that is why the UI is changing towards Facebook. I don't know.
I think UI is not only the reason. I feel
Yes.
there is content also getting some similar, or what can we say?
LinkedIn is turning more like on the philosophical Instagram side.
Exactly.
Everyone is
Yeah,
posting.
more boomers are on LinkedIn now. So old people, they like sort of content.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not the word that I would use here, but yes.
Like I'm seeing pictures of God posted every day.
Oh,
Okay, I
luckily I
guess
haven't seen that.
your feed is unique.
Yeah, seriously, we haven't seen that.
Yes.
So the answer is clear, guys. Twitter, use Twitter, and follow DD Student on Twitter.
I also have like one more thing to add. There's a bot called Good First Issue bot on Twitter which regularly posts issues on Twitter. So I'm like scrolling through my I can explore that issue. So yeah, Twitter is also good for that. And yeah, one more thing that I would like to point out is that when you are like starting for open source contribution, you guys can of course like check out our repository that we have started. The purpose of like dev resources is that you guys like beginners can start out, but when you are looking for other organizations or other issues, make sure that for now at least that you guys look at issues which have labels such as good first issue or beginner friendly or up for grabs or likewise.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes, Sarthik, over to you.
So that's it. So
Oh, cool. Well,
anyone wants to ask anything, man?
yeah. Any questions regarding anything, which repository to start with, how to look for repositories and things? Nice song, Luke. All right. Doesn't look like we are getting much questions here. Well, anyway, as I talked about communication platforms, we have Discord. So we have Discord for DSCDDO. So make sure to check it out and make sure that if you are contributing and you have some ideas for enhancement, improvements, or anything that you are not able to figure out, you ping us on Discord. Don't ping us personally. Try to ping us in the channel. So So many people can get the idea, or if other people also have the same doubt, then they can benefit from it, and you will get a faster response too if none of us are online, like if you as opposed to the personal message thing.
Exactly.
All right, I hope you guys enjoyed today's session. Yep, Discord link is here. You can just click on it and join our server. Also, like you to message in the other channels, you guys have to verify, and the verification is only because we are. It is our server is for now. For now, it is only limited to DDU students. So make sure that you guys verify. It's just it takes like 2 to 3 seconds to verify.
Exactly.
All right. Hope to see at least like 2 to 3% from the participants contributing to repositories. Well, nothing more from my side. Anything from you, Hardik?
No, sir.
All right. Well, guys, see you on GitHub then. Bye.
Yes. Thank you for joining.
Yes.
Bye.